This is the 31st Lap Podcast, recorded live in the studios of FingerLakes1.com in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now, your hosts, Rich Post, John Bonas, Mike Mallet, and Chris Marquardt.
Good evening and welcome to the 31st Lap. What do we got there? There we go. Welcome to the 31st Lap, episode number 73. Got a big show on deck tonight. We're going to be catching up in a little while with Frank Cozze. And also going to be catching up with Empire Super Sprints, Dean Reynolds. The introduction there of all those hosts is 3/4 of the way inaccurate. Rich broke his Jeep on his way here. I think that's a cover for another birthday party that he's always alluding to.
Happy birthday, whoever you are.
John couldn't make it tonight, and then Mikey's just about finished up with baseball season, so we'll be seeing him in studio again soon. But Jay Fish, recovering from his automobile mishaps down in Cortland. How'd you ever get the car out of it? Was Cortland, right, where the car broke down?
Yep, thanks to the guys at Finger Lakes Wreckers, and they took care of the shipment of my car over to Kyler, New York. So it all worked out. Thanks to the guys down at Hunts for hooking me up with their friends at Finger Lakes Wreckers as well.
So Jay Fish from Motorsports Hall of Fame, able to come in again this week. Glad you could make it. So what ended up happening with the Tiburon anyway? So what's the current status of that, if any?
140,000 miles worth of me beating on its clutch. It decided, hey, no more clutch for you for a little while, so I got to get a new one of those.
That was that?
That was all she had in her. So.
And is it going to get fixed or no?
Yep, I'm going to fix her.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I love the car, man. 140,000 miles of me sitting on top of it. It's the least I can do for that poor little car.
That's a strange way of explaining it.
I love her. I do.
Well,
she outlasted the wife.
Whoa. Hey, speaking of which, you got a car from her.
I sure did. Beautiful Toyota Camry. Thank you, dear. Ex-wifes are excellent. God bless their heart.
Good for you.
Enough about me. Let's talk some racing, huh?
Yeah, this is a big week. I'm real excited about this. We've got all sorts of stuff going on this weekend. The one that was probably meaning the most to you that you were alluding to is the one that you're talking about maybe even making it down for, and that's the event at Skyline.
Yeah, I hope to get down there on Saturday for the Ryan Ellis Memorial. It's a 37 lapper. That was his car number for the World Products Empire Series for the IMCA Modifieds. Mike Smith's putting on the deal. It's going to be a $600 to win event for the IMCA Modifieds, and the folks down at Skyline always put on a real good show. I've only been a couple of times, but every time I get down there, it kind of reminds me of what racing's all about. So I'm definitely going to go check those guys out. You know, there's huge shows going on this weekend.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no shortage of places to go. Utica Rome, they've got their big doubleheader. Yep. I'm sure Mike will be busy with that over there.
Sure, sure. I think Can-Am kind of got the whole ball rolling on a.
Yeah, you said you went to Can-Am.
Can-Am was awesome last night. They highlighted the sportsman division, paid those guys $2,000 to win, got some awesome drivers to come out for that, and those guys did not disappoint. I always think to myself, great racers make great races. It doesn't matter what the division is, and those guys definitely proved that out. Van Brock ended up winning the race, and Nick Guerreri was second place. And he led for most of the race. They swapped the lead there towards the end, and it just a really, really quality event.
Nick Guerreri's a regular in the chat room here.
Yeah.
And I think he won some sunglasses during one of our fan giveaways at one point.
No kidding.
Yeah. It was, shoot, I'm blanking on it. It was something that that Mike had set up. Programming note, coming up next week, we're going to be getting in touch with Rolf Schnur. I missed a phone call from him earlier this week, and it occurred to me when you texted me from downstairs saying that you were here that I never called him back.
Yep.
So I got to make sure I get a hold of him. Do you know him at all?
I sure do.
Okay.
I sure do. We connected, believe it or not, online. And
hard to believe, right?
Yeah, through Mike McLaughlin was the common connection with that. Ralph was tied in with the McLaughlin crew back in the day, actually sponsoring his cars when they were sponsored by not Coors Light. I'm gonna say it wrong if I say it at all. But one of the sponsors that McLaughlin
was
had,
it Coors Extra Gold?
There you go. You nailed it. Yep, absolutely. Rolf was tied in with that and connected with me via the Dirt Motorsports Hall of Fame Facebook, and I try to keep him up to date with what we're doing, try to get him involved with what we're all about because he's a marketing powerhouse, that guy, and I dig what he's up to.
Yeah, he does a pretty good job. He knows what to do. He was real active with Brett Hearn, and we've had him on the show before, and then one of his drivers, Matt Papa.
Yep.
I believe he was on the show as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I think he's the youngest modified driver ever.
Nice.
Basically at some point, and he's Brett Hearn's protege. I mean, if you've got a better teacher, bring him on.
Yeah, couldn't think of a better mentor at this stage of the game.
Yep. So we got Frank Cozze. He's a guy that you can learn something from. He's done it both in modifieds and in sprint cars now.
He's driven every type of modified you'd ever want to see run. I mean, the coupes, the coaches, the present day modifieds. He's going to be an interesting chat here in just a few minutes. I'm pumped up that we'll be able to have him on.
What is the reception like when you call drivers and you call car owners and things along those lines, and you say, "Hey, look, you're going to be a Hall of Fame, and you're going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame." What's usually the general reaction? Are they mostly just like that they're playing it cool, oh, neat, looking forward to it, thank you, humble thing, or some of them like over the top elated? The
board gets the pleasure of handling that usually, but I did get to talk to Frank to set this deal up and congratulate him on being inducted into the Hall of Fame. This is kind of the third instance we get to praise the Cozze family and the work they've done. His father's in, the crew went in 2009 after his win at Syracuse in 2008. So I congratulated him on that and his whole family for kind of being in. And he's kind of a laid-back dude.
Oh, Frank, yeah, big time.
Yeah, he's not going to blow the speakers here tonight by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that's why he's so popular the way he is. He's a working dude, and everybody respects him for that, and that's the way he drives and the way he lives. So he's an awesome guy and a really great representation of the Hall of Fame in this sport.
One of the things that I really like about Frank is he's so dry, and he's a funny dude. You get talking to him, he is a funny dude, and you gotta pay close attention, otherwise you're gonna miss it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's exactly what the conversation was. It was all of, maybe a 5-minute phone call, but I could tell he was enthusiastic about being inducted and really grateful for that, and just pretty much, hey, whatever you guys want to do, I'm in.
Right.
Give me, what time do you figure was kind of the deal, so that way I'm not busting up his dinner or something like that. So
we did that to Alan Johnson.
Oh.
It was one of Rich's first shows, and we still had the setup was still the card table. I don't know. You've seen the card table that we take to the live shows. That used to be what was in here.
Nice.
And it was set up right here, and there was a couple folding chairs around. And Mike couldn't make it, and so Rich had been working for weeks with a PR contact with Alan, and the whole 10-car ride and all that stuff, the way that was all coming together. And he'd been working and finally got it so where we can talk about it on the air. It's set in stone. It's going to happen. We're going to have Alan on the air, and we sit down and he pulls the phone over next to him. I said, "You can go ahead and take the lead on the interview. You've been working on it so long." And I was like deer in headlights. He just turned white.
Oh boy,
because he hadn't done it before.
Yeah,
and I'm like, it's only one way to learn.
Yeah,
go ahead and do it. And Alan doesn't. He's not an animated guy.
Oh yeah.
And we called him, and it was real broken up and staticky. And he said, "Hang on a second." And he ended up walking outside, and he goes, "I was just in the middle of eating dinner." I'm like, "Oh great,
oh boy,
perfect." So of course, Rich immediately goes from white to red.
Yeah,
and but he did okay. He did a good job, and
Sure.
It was neat to have Alan on. I mean, you can't really talk about modifieds without mentioning Alan's name.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not, especially in this neck of the woods. And speaking of which, this neck of the woods, I got to go to Canandaigua on Saturday and see Alan run and witness Matt Shepard winning his 30th feature at that track. And I hadn't been to Canandaigua in a long time. You guys kind of got me thinking about going there. Just for some reason, there was a disconnect there, and it blew my mind to watch him come from 19th. Shepard is kind of becoming a legend before our very frigging eyes.
Yeah.
It's wild to be talking about a guy who's on the other side, on the right side of 30, the side of 30 I'd like to be on. Winning as many.
Is he 30? He's turned 30 now. I thought so.
I don't know, man.
I'm not going to argue it.
Yeah, I don't think he's even 30 yet. I mean, but regardless, the dude's still young and already got 30 feature wins there, and has won a bunch of Super Dirt Car Series championships. Won at Syracuse already. He's put all these things behind him. Then to kind of see him do it just on a regular show like that, come from 19th, where he's going to be starting pretty much the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to see an awesome race, Canandaigua was definitely a spot you got to check out at some point this season. It was miraculous.
What's your take on handicapping? We've had this debate a lot of times on the show, but you haven't had the opportunity to be part of it. What's your take on handicapping?
Fantastic. I mean, Saturday proved it. Saturday proves that it's the right formula for it. He starts on the front row of that race, via winning his feature or a redraw or anything like that, and it's a snooze fest. And I come in here and say, "Geez, I guess I know why I missed out on Canandaigua all these years because there's nothing going on." But instead, I'm in here having a conversation with you about it. It was a hell of a show watching this guy come up through the field, going to the middle, going all the way to the most severe bottom of the track, wherever he could find bite to get past people. He was doing it. Him and Jimmy Phelps both came from mid to tail end of the pack in that race and ended up running first and second. And
I feel bad for Dave Rouser.
Oh yeah, I got to talk to Matt after the race in an interview for a different website, and
it's Doug's Dirt Diary.
He said as much afterwards. I asked him about that. I said, hey, Rouser was leading for a big part of the race. You guys are buddies. You guys have always been kind of tied in some way, shape, or form. Rouser helps him out quite a bit.
Oh yeah,
he'll tell you the same thing. And he kind of said, hey, if it might have been a different scenario, but I've got 20 some other cars chasing me down, so I can't screw around with Dave like I can with anybody else. I got to get that lead and put some distance between me and everybody else. So if Matt races for bread, man, there's no two ways about it. He's an absolute professional, and he'd take anybody out. If his mom was into race cars, he'd spin her too, probably. And that's why I like Matt a lot.
Aside of Matt Shepard, can you think of anybody else who's come out of the sportsman division and really went in the sequence the way that the dirt structure is intended? He went from the youth division into the force. Well, he started in go-karts, then he went into the youth division at Black Rock and moved his way up through. Then he went into the sportsman car where he was partnered with Payne Motorsports for so long. Then he moved up into the big block division, running his own car and dabbling in some other rides before he got the break with Ross Racing.
Sure.
And then from there, got the opportunity with Jeff Brownell, and of course from there it's history.
Oh yeah.
You ever seen anybody else do it? I mean, I'm over here as you're talking and racking my brain a little bit, trying to think if there's anybody else that did that. I think Justin Harris might have spent a little bit of time in the sportsman division, but he hasn't quite come up into that next tier.
Yeah. And you're not hurting anybody's feelings by saying they're not on the same level as Matt Shepard. The guy is legitimately, him and Friesen are 1 and 1A in my opinion. And people might disagree with that, but I guess opinions are everybody's justified them. I can justify mine with facts. So, and a lot of people at home probably do agree, and there's some that probably won't. But there's others too, of course. But those two are 1 and 1A to me. Is who does the majority of the winning in these big races at these big shows and night in night out. If you put them on the right set of circumstances, which they're obviously, and they got great car owners and great support, they're going to produce the result that you expect from these guys. And they're both super young, and thank God. And I pray to God every night they stick around a little while longer with us because,
And Jimmy Phelps isn't that much older than him, is he?
He's mid-30s, 35, 36-year-old guy.
I mean, that's...
5-6 years older than those guys. And Jimmy in his own right is right on the cusp. And he'll tell you the same thing. He feels like he's a tick off right now. I talked to him after the race, and he felt as though he let one slip that day at Canandaigua. He's got to get one. He's got to knock one off there, this year, and then that might open the floodgates, and now we might be talking about somebody giving Shepard a realistic run for their money. But the guy was just unfrickin' real on Saturday. I've seen him race 100 times before.
Shepard won Merrittville, too.
Yep.
The 358 Tour event in Merrittville.
And Utica Rome.
And he won Utica Rome.
The guy went out Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and said, geez, I need some more money to spend on beers or whatever the heck the guy spends his money on. And he went out and he won 3 friggin' difficult races against the best of the best. And I can't wait to see him do it all over again wherever he travels because it baffled me.
Well, it's a realistic opportunity to do it this weekend.
Yep.
I mean, to collect several wins.
Oh, yeah. And big money's on the line, too. And that's when he does tend to show up, man. It's going to be an awesome field he's going to run against on Monday there, too. So that'll be exciting to see.
So let's say someplace like Utica Rome, or there's a conflicting date and there's a big show at Utica Rome and the Dirt Tour is someplace else. The guy that wins at Utica Rome, is that win in any way diminished or challenged because Matt wasn't there?
No. No, I mean, those standalone events, I think they've got history that speaks for them, and anytime you win in a marquee event like that, regardless of who's there, it's still your win. And I never take anything away from any of these racers, regardless of who else is at the track. If they chose to go race someplace else, that's on them.
Because that's the way I look at it. They had just as much opportunity to be at that track as anybody else did, and if they elected not to go, then they elected not to go. And they may have said well ahead of time that they're not going to go.
Yep.
But long story short is you can't diminish this guy's win because he still had to go out there and win. He still had to go out there and compete. And if one guy wasn't there, it doesn't change it.
Yep.
I mean, would you challenge? Now I blank on it, of course, but but there's been a lot of instances where there's been big races outside of the dirt fold, or there've been big races that dirt did sanction, and vice versa. That so and so wasn't there. Is Brett Hearn's win at the Outlaw 200 worth any less because Billy Pouch and Jeff Strunk and Dwayne Howard didn't go?
Well, the reason why it doesn't diminish it is because there's.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't.
There's so many
the Outlaw
factors.
200.
Yeah, there's so many factors that go into the sport aside from everybody's got these statistics. This ain't baseball. It's not. It's not Stratomatic baseball where it's all about the stats. There's so many other factors that go into being able to win a race or to win a series. Matt Shepard is a perfect example of this. Every time you ask him about what it's like to win 2 in a row, then 3 in a row, and all this other kind of stuff, he'll tell you it comes down to having our crap together back in the shop Monday through whenever, and then getting luck on your side and just missing the incidents that kind of happen on track, or having stupid stuff happen to the car that you can never ever in a million years plan for. So that's really why you never can diminish a race car driver's win at any track, regardless of what else is going on out there in the ether, because these guys get it done, and it's amazing to watch them do it.
And our fans are the best fans ever. Just the owner chimed in on the live chat. Matt Shepard will be 31 on July 12th.
All right. That's awesome. He's still younger than me, man. And he's getting it done. 31's still a pretty young age. I mean,
that's right, it is.
Yeah, thank God, right? Holy cats. But just to watch this kid do what he's doing at this stage of the game is miraculous. I've seen a lot of racing, man. I see 50 or 60 races every year, and just to watch him do that deal on Saturday was like, wow, Canandaigua was an awesome place, and these are awesome drivers. Sportsman race was friggin' phenomenal on Saturday, and last night again. I can't.
Greg Cool comes up with the win.
Yeah, his first ever.
Yep.
His first ever. Another deal where you get to interview a kid after a race like that, and he's just his mind is blown at that point. He's really not sure what to say, and the way he did it too, going to the extreme top and making the moves that he made to get there and doing it. And these guys are pros. They're really professional about what they do, and the guy put together an awesome race and an awesome win, and just total night there at Canandaigua. It's an awesome event.
He's been running the division a couple of years, and he was definitely due, and he's been getting better and better and better. And that was one of the things that Kevin Ridley alluded to when he was on the show, that you can take these crate cars and you can go to the top and build momentum, and if the top is there, you can make it work.
Last night was a perfect example of that too. At Can-Am, Van Brocklin had to go to the top to get it done. He went to the extreme top at Can-Am, and there was a deal. He kept his speed up. Guerreri was leading lap after lap after lap, and Van Brocklin says, well, I might as well try something different. Went to the top and ended up getting the win up at Can-Am Motorsports Park.
That's one of the things that I do like about dirt track racing, be it late models, be it sprint cars, modifieds, regardless of the division, if it's sportsman, small block, or big block, what have you, is Canandaigua was a prime example of this. They will go into turn 3 side by side on top of each other. One guy will go to the bottom, and the other guy will go way to the top.
Yep.
And they'll, one guy's way sideways hanging out, the other one is just straight as narrow coming, and they come out of turn 4, and they're still side by side.
Yeah.
Neither one gained anything on the other.
Right.
And they can do that lap after lap because they are good at what they do. Yep, you should probably head on out there and get Frank Cozze on the phone. That's going to be a good time. Now, your Hall of Fame induction is going to be the night before. That's going to be June 5th, right?
June 4th is our
June 4th.
Our induction ceremonies. It's in prime time this year at 7 o'clock p.m. And the following night is the Hall of Fame 60 out at Rolling Wheels Raceway Park. That's
going to be a fun race. We're going to try and catch up with Jeff Hockman again is next week, I think, is what we're going to try to do, because that's a lead into that big first week of June over there at the Rolling Wheels Raceway Park. And of course, it's going to be a fun time for the folks over there at the Hall of Fame. This is a bit of change of pace, too, for the Hall of Fame. Jay will tell us a little bit more about that later on. They traditionally had that in conjunction with the Memorial Day weekend, and then they had that also with that All-Star event. The shoot, help me out, Jay. What's that called? The All-Star weekend that they're That's all they called it? No, I thought there was a bigger name for that. So right now we're working on getting Frank on the line. We're going to be catching up with Dean Reynolds a little bit later on. Dean's going to be talking about the busy weekend for Empire Super Sprints. Just about anybody that has a race car has a bunch of options this weekend. And, of course, all the fans, they've got plenty of options, too. Dean's also going to be talking about the first trip to Selinsgrove Speedway down there in Pennsylvania in about 2 decades for the Empire Super Sprint. So I'm excited to catch up with him a little bit later on. We've got Frank Cozze now joining us on the line. I'm going to put him in. You can watch the action of putting it in. All right, we'll pull that up, bring that level up so that everybody can hear him. And we should have Frank Cozze. Frank, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Good. Well, I appreciate you taking some time out of your night to come on and hang out with us for a little while. And I guess right off the top, my first question for you is, what's it like to go into the Dirt Motorsports Hall of Fame?
Well, I'll let you know in about.
Well, I mean, you had to have had some time to think about it, and it's got to. It might not have necessarily set in yet, but you had to have some thoughts on it.
Well, yeah, it's pretty cool. Going in. My dad's in there, so it's pretty cool that he's still, still around, and so they're together. And
what was your reaction when you got the phone call and they said that you were going to be enshrined in the same hall as your dad is? Kind of thinking maybe we lost Frank. Do we have you, Frank? Hey, Frank.
The beauty of live radio.
That didn't sound good.
That's definitely not Frank.
Yeah, that's not Frank. Well, let's see. We were supposed to ask Frank if he was coming up to one of his favorite track, Selinsgrove Speedway. That question submitted by Doug Zupan.
Okay.
Probably not going to be asking him that right away. Let's see if we can hit a quick redial on that.
Okay. Yeah, really be a really great chat with Frank if we can get him back on the line here. He's going to be the third in line of the Cozze clan to be going into the Hall of Fame. We put his entire crew in back in 2009 after he won at Syracuse in 2008. And it'll be really an honor for us to be able to install, another
got you back, Frank?
Part of the Cozze clan in.
Got me?
Yeah, we got you. Good. Welcome back. I was trying to get you on the redial when you were calling us. Excellent. We already got some questions flying in from the live chat for you. I was wondering if we might be able to run one of them by you. Doug Zupan's asking if you're going to be coming up to Utica this weekend.
No, I'm not going to.
No? I was asking you before we lost you on the line there was what was kind of going through your mind when you got the phone call from the Dirt Motorsports Hall of Fame and they were saying that you were going to be enshrined in the same hall as your dad?
Well, I was kind of surprised.
Gotta love nights like this. And I think that's going to do it for Frank again. Trying to get him in and not working.
The beauty of live radio. Anytime you try to do something like this, there's always the opportunity for technical difficulties and gremlins to rear their ugly heads.
I don't know what the story is with that.
And Frank's a racer's racer. It'll be great to have him inducted this year. We've got a great class coming in. This year, not only Frank Cozze, but Mike McLaughlin and Blackie Watt as well. So, we've got an amazing class, plus all the special awards that we've got lined up for the Hall of Fame here in 2013. And it's only 12 short days away, not that anybody's counting. Actually, I've got 4,000 people who are counting on the Facebook page, but we've got the Lenny J. Salmon's Outstanding Service Award, the Petrocchi family. Obviously, people know them from the Rolling Wheels Raceway Park. They're going to be honored with a Lenny J. Salmon's Outstanding Service Award. The Mechanic Award is going to go to the team of Milt Johnson and Bruce Fleischman. That's the B&M Speed Shop team. They'll be honored on June 4th. That's just 12 days away at the Dirt Motorsports Hall of Fame inductions. Again, that's in prime time this year, just in case anybody's trying to keep track or make plans to get out to that. It's on a weeknight, Tuesday night, in prime time for us, so it gives us a nice opportunity to have a nice little midweek special event all to ourselves. In addition to that, Gene DeWitt Car Owner Award is going to go to George Smith Sr., and the Gator Photo News Women in Racing Award is going to be presented to 3 outstanding women that have had so much to do with racing and the careers of so many people who are involved in this sport and are making it great to this very day. Marsha Wetmore, Jane Doust, and Wendy Kennedy. They're all going to be installed as Gator Photo News Women in Racing. And that special award's presented every year, and we're so lucky to have these 3 gals going in this year. Amazing people. What's the prognosis, Doc?
You know what's not amazing is our phone connection.
Okay, little difficulty there.
This happened once when we were talking with Jessica Power, and I could not explain it at all. And,
Okay.
well, I was telling you earlier about some of the weird stuff that was going on with your camera.
I'm pretty sure that we're haunted.
Frank, we got you?
Hey, maybe one of us didn't pay our phone bill.
I know, right? What happened there? I'm gonna have to take that up with Jim after the show.
I don't know. I'm on my landline, but we're like getting hammered with thunderstorms here right now.
Oh, really?
That could have something to do with it.
Could be. How bad is it down there? I know we got a couple killer storms that washed through our area here last couple days.
Yeah, like the sun was out here 20 minutes ago. Now it's pouring.
Yeah, the sky earlier today turned black as night, and out of nowhere it was coming down in buckets. I mean, just snap of the fingers, it started pouring. Before we lost you there and try running this by you again, I mean, just what were some of your initial thoughts when you found out you're going to be put into the Dirt Motorsports Hall of Fame, just like your dad?
Right. Well, I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't even know my name was up. So, call, and I'm like, I didn't think that maybe they had the wrong Frank Cozze. I don't know. But, I just thought it was kind of neat to be in there with my dad. My dad's 85. He's still going strong. So, be fun to be in there with him at the same time.
Of all the races that you had the opportunity to compete in, what one of those stands out in your mind?
Well, there's more than one. I mean, of course, Syracuse win was a big one. This year I won Eastern States. I got to win it the first one in '89, so it was pretty cool,
Right.
Now, you're far from done racing, too, right, Frank? You picked up a win a couple of weeks ago. Talk to us about that and adding yet another win to that amazing Hall of Fame resume.
Yeah, well, we moved to the Grandview Big Diamond Circuit this year, 358 cars. Been having a pretty decent year with that. Got a good car owner, got a good bunch of guys on that team there, so I'm looking forward to a good year with those guys.
Now, they've got kind of a storied history all into themselves. Who are you driving for? And it's a 357 car, right, sir?
It's Norm Hansel is Jay Thomas is his crew chief. It's a good team. They're solid. They've got a lot of big wins. They won the big race there at Grandview last year.
Yeah,
50,000 to win. So used to winning.
They're used to winning. It's no joke there. That 357 car is legendary.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously, you've had a career that obviously has gotten you to this point and led you to the Hall of Fame. You got some folks you'd like to thank for getting you this far. Obviously, there's probably a list of millions, but go ahead and give a shout out to all the folks you want to thank for getting you to the Hall of Fame, Frank.
When they've been involved in racing. Of course, my wife's put up with it for 40 years. She's pretty much gone to most of the races, so without her being along, it would have been really hard to do it on my own. Of course, my children, who was going an awful lot racing, well, they were old enough to take them with me. So, they're the majors. I've driven for so many car owners, I can't remember them all. So, but I mean, I appreciate all of them because appreciate donated all their free time to the crews and everything. There's so many people that were involved over the years that I just have to generally thank them all.
Yeah. This isn't a sport that you can get away without having that family support. You know, it really speaks volumes that you've been able to stay in it and be as competitive as you have and race as much as you have. You know, without the support of that family unit and the friends that you've accumulated over these years, you know, speak to that a little bit. I mean, it'd be impossible to do without their support.
Yeah, I mean, we hauled our kids to all the races. We hauled them in a motorhome, and that's kind of how we lived all summer long. Basically, they were all pretty much raised at a racetrack. I don't think I would have ever raced nowhere near as long as I did without that family thing along. If they hadn't been interested, you know, it just. I was grateful to have them, and I'm sure they had a good time. We tried to make it fun.
Did any of them express interest in getting into a race car?
You know, as far as the people goes, I met an awful lot of people over the years that a lot of good characters in dirt racing.
Did any of your kids ever express interest in getting into a race car?
Yeah, but the oldest one is racing right now, and he races Big Diamond on Fridays.
I didn't realize that.
Much run the business. That's their major interest, and so I'm a pretty lucky guy. I got them taken over and
working on another future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. We all got to start someplace.
Another question coming in on the live chat. They're wondering if you've got that sprint car anywhere near race ready, and if it is near ready. Why'd you skip the World of Outlaws race this week at Orange County since you finished third there last time?
Well, it is ready. We can pull her out of the... Actually, it's in the trailer already.
Where are you looking to go with it if it's already loaded up?
Well, you know, I went to drive for these guys, and really to stay dedicated to them and then jump back and forth is not really a good thing.
Right. That's understandable.
So, against guys that race 3 nights a week.
Sure. I'm wondering if in the midst of all this weather that there's water in the lines that come to this building.
It could very well be. And it really stinks because I'd really love to have this conversation with Frank right now.
I know, you know, and it's something that I think we should wait for a sunny day, and we should definitely try to make a plan to do this again. Or one of the times that we're live someplace, we'll try and corral Frank and pin him down and have this conversation.
I'm catching like a third of your words.
Yeah, it's the same thing on our end, Frank. So what we'll probably do is we'll probably put this on hold, and we'd like to do it again. We'll try and set something up, maybe when the weather's a little bit more cooperative and we're not fighting against thunder and lightning.
Okay, that's great.
All right, thanks for joining us tonight. We'll catch up with you soon.
Okay, man.
Thanks.
The amazing Frank Cozze, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be such an honor to induct him, man.
You know it's going to be an honor to have a conversation with him. That would be great.
Yeah, what you weren't hearing is Frank Cozze didn't develop a speech impediment, ladies and gentlemen. We're having some technical difficulties. This
is the same thing that happened with Jessica Power one time.
Yeah,
and we're going back and forth in the live chat with one of her crew guys was actually listening in the live chat, and we were going back and forth and back and forth. We were trying to figure out if, where the problem was. And at one point we asked if they were on a landline, and they go, yeah, we are. It's like, crap.
Yeah. We're missing out, too. I mean, some of the stuff he was saying.
I know, just catching the bits and pieces. It's like, oh, my God, I wish I could hear this.
Yeah.
And there was just nothing there. And
it's such an interesting history.
I credit him. because he did not have to hang in there the way that he did.
Nope.
He could have just said, you know what, if you guys don't have your crap together, I'm going someplace else.
Yeah.
Forget it. I got other stuff to do.
He does have other stuff to do.
He's got plenty to do.
Two-time winner at Eastern States, winner, $50 large at Syracuse at Super Dirt Week, back in 2008. This is a guy who's, super accomplished in our sport, and one day we'll track him down and we'll get this thing done right without the weather interfering.
Yeah, we had him on once before, and I trust that's the same number. I mean, I don't keep every phone number just at arm's length, and we had hoped to have as good a conversation tonight as we did then, but it did not pan out at all.
Yep.
We're going to be getting Dean Reynolds on the line later, and if it's anywhere close to that, I know Dean's listening in live chat. If it's anywhere close to what that was like, Dean, we'll just can it, man. We're not going to make you endure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hopefully the folks at home are sticking with us. Seems like the live chat's doing pretty good over there.
I mean, that's one of the things about the live feed. It seems to gain momentum the longer it goes. We always see a spike right about 7:40.
Okay.
Because everybody knows that's about when the interviews come on. They don't need to listen to us talking heads gush about all the nonsense or anything. They want to get down to the meat of the program, and that's usually the interviews. So there's Zupi. Zupi's chiming in.
Zupan's a great guy. When we were talking about Rolf Schnurr and his connection to Mike McLaughlin, Doug Zupan, he's a historian like nobody's business. He actually texted me.
He's the official historian of the 31st lap.
He texted me the name of the sponsor that you and I were trying to track down.
Right.
Right as you said, Coors Extra Gold, boom, not 3 seconds before that, his text had come across my phone here. It's what's really great is the future of the sport is looking brighter and brighter every time I think about it. We got talking about Shepard's youth and Stuart Friesen's youth and some of the guys who are really starting to come on in the sport and the guys in the sportsman ranks, the youth in that particular division that's going to grow into the big block or small block modified division. It's really a lot more hopeful than I would have thought maybe just 4 or 5 years ago. Because there was some awful dark times in modified racing. It's really good to think about the future of this sport, both on the administrative side, the promotion side, and the driver side. Because the side that we don't often think enough about maybe is who's going to take the helm and who's going to really promote this sport in the way that it needs to be promoted to get it, as attractive as it can possibly be to the youth.
Right. Have you had the chance to chat with Julia at all? Julia Foy over at Dirt Motorsports.
I've been so fortunate to have her involved in a couple of our events at the Dirt Motorsports Hall of Fame. She's a huge supporter of ours and is constantly reaching out to me to let me know about opportunities that we might have to connect with the public. She was up in Watertown for a parade and actually invited us to take part in that and connected us with the promoter.
Wow.
Logistically, we just couldn't make it happen this weekend. She was able to connect us with somebody who's interested in having the Dirt Motorsports Hall of Fame at a different parade as well. And it's something that anytime that she finds somebody who's interested in what we're doing, or she can all connect us with somebody. Jeff and Julie are really great partners to us. Just because Dirt Car isn't directly involved with the Hall of Fame, as far as an ownership element, they've really become an awesome partner, a better partner maybe even. With that line of demarcation there. Jeff Hockman called me up today to find out what more he could be doing. And he's a guy who's got 6 million other things going on in his life, I'm sure.
He's got no shortage of to-do list.
Right. And he's a guy who called me up to make sure hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that were going to be cool for our night on June 4th. And, it's cool to hear that type of support, from folks in the community at large. But you got to give a shout-out to both Jeff and Julia for all the work they do with us at the Hall of Fame.
So, you alluded to the dark days of modified racing.
Yeah.
Go into that more, because that's
for a while there. Everybody was predicting the demise of this whole deal, right? I don't think it's any secret that everybody thinks that there's an evil cloud hanging over
2004, 2005.
Yeah, sure.
2006, all that. Because think of all the ownership change. First, it was Boundless, then it was World Racing Group, and there was all these different entities that came in, and they all were going to show those short track dirt guys in New York how it's done.
Right.
They were going to come in and they were going to clean it all up, and they had all these big stories and all these big promises, and none of it came true. All that came about was the same money,
right?
Confusing rules, and misdirection.
A lot of the individual tracks also changed hands. Think about Brewerton and Fulton Speedway. They went through a couple of ownership changes there as well, and there was a lot of change during that time, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, this is the dark days of modified racing. Modified racing is going away." Everybody was thinking, "Geez, the late models were going to come in and rule the world," all that kind of stuff. Well, I tell you what, there's reason to be pretty thankful for what we've got still. And because there are a lot of things, a lot of positive things that we can grow on it.
Well, what don't we have now that we had then, other than the wide-reaching 27-member track dirt organization? We have that early period now where there was a dozen or so member tracks.
Yep.
And all this other satellite stuff going on. If you look at Dirt Motorsports or Dirt Car now as the nucleus, and all this other stuff going on around it that give you so many other options and so many other avenues to go race at. It's that all over again. It's that 30 years later.
Yep. It's making a lot of the other individual racetracks, race promoters stand on their own 2 feet a little bit. It's making the Racing Champions step their game up a little bit to fill a void that might be there, and it's making Dirt Car work a little bit harder. I think they're in a different the folks right here. When I talk about Dirt Car, I really don't care what they're doing in North Carolina. I care about my people, the people right here that are in our immediate area, and the people that I know, that I work with all the time, the Joe Skotnickis, the Jeff Hockmans, the Julia Foys we just got talking about. They're extremely hardworking people who do generally give a crap about the sport that I care about. And I'm talking about dirt modifieds. I'm into sprint cars, I'm into dirt modifieds. Late models ain't done nothing for me. The World of Outlaws ain't done nothing for me.
Bite your tongue.
Yeah. In Demo Derby, of course. I got to say, those are people who give a lot to me.
Don't do that.
I tried.
What are you doing?
I tried. But those are the people that I care about, because those are the people who in this area really get what we're all about. Because to be honest with you, I cover a lot of racing, and I see a lot of great racing, and I see a lot of people working awfully hard to keep this sport together. And there's also the school of thought maybe that you need some upheaval, you need some trying times. The hottest heat makes the strongest steel. So some people who might be going through some tough times at these racetracks, maybe it's going to make them a little bit more resilient and make them work a little bit harder to promote their brand. In case in point, the guy that's coming on the line right now from the Empire Super Sprints, Dean Reynolds. There's a guy who does.
Yes, no, we're here.
Yep.
Okay, good.
He's a guy that bleeds true blue and does a great job in real hardcore promotion. He's out there beating on his Facebook. He's out there yelling at the top of his lungs about his brand of racing, and that's why I love the area that we live in, because there might have been dark days, and Deano will attest to this, but it makes you harder, it makes you stronger, and it makes you produce a good product that people are going to come watch, and it's not all about just spending more money than the next guy, right, Dean?
It's funny, Jim, when you say that. I've always felt, especially the last 10 years, you look at the tracks and the organizations that are successful now, and it's the ones that actually have to promote. It's not like the mid-'80s and the early 90s where you can just open up the gates and everyone comes. It was literally that easy back then. Now you got to work at it, and I don't think I'm the best guy that runs an organization by far, but I might be the guy that might work the hardest. And and we have race teams that do the same thing in return to help promote ESS. ESS is the race teams, and they help promote it, and they give us a good product. And case in point, when we went down to Selinsgrove this past Saturday, it was our first time down in Central PA in 17 years, and people really enjoyed seeing our brand of sprint car racing down there.
How was the trip to Selinsgrove? I want to come back. I want to get the ESS stuff and give it its due, but at the same time, I rang you a little bit early because I wanted you to be part of the conversation, this direction that we were going here, Jay and I, as we talked about the dark days and the future and all those other things. And because you and I have had those conversations off the show, and I really enjoyed them, so I wanted you to be part of that. But before we get into that stuff and come back to that topic, how great was it to get back down to Selinsgrove? It's such a storied sprint car track.
Central PA is sprint car mecca. I mean, you have Eldora, you got Knoxville, of course, but Central PA is storied, and I'm a race fan. I mean, a lot of our guys with ESS are fairly new. The Sammy Reeks, the Paul Kinneys, even Steve Poirier. They've never seen this place, and when they went down there, there's a certain feeling. You're in the infield. It's a big, wide, fast half mile. You're on the gas. It's Central PA fans. You're going up against Selinsgrove's best. And they beat us, and quite frankly, they should have. They got the top 3 spots, and then Robbie Stillwagon got 4th, but Jeff Cook got 5th after leading 15 laps. But I texted a lot of guys afterwards, and even Dave Axton, who literally flew upside down 3 times, said that this was one of the best experiences they had. They really had a ball, and I'm glad. But I'll tell you what, we had 5 of the top 10 spots, and now the guys know what to do, and I look forward to coming back and making a challenge.
How hard is it going to be to sell Selinsgrove on having ESS back?
It's already a done deal. Promoter Charlie Page was pleased. We had 30 cars coming before URC got rained out. They added 6 cars, so we had a great field of 36. Mm-hmm. But a nonstop A main, which by the way is a new track record now at Selinsgrove, so ESS has got their names in the record books.
Look at that.
For now.
I knew Dean would figure out a way to work that.
To run 25 laps. And matter of fact, Dave Axton's red was the only time we had to do a restart the entire night.
Wow.
It was just a good night, and the fans, they came out in a good number despite the Outlaws being right down the road at Williams Grove. I was really shocked how many people were there, and we're coming back for their National Open in September. It's a non-points deal, but I figure we'll bring 10, 12 cars down there because the purse is really high. But I think a full point show next year is definitely a definite. Maybe even another one. We just got to look that up and see. We don't want to spread our guys too thin because the guys coming down from Quebec, it's 9 hours. It's a long haul, but maybe we can tie these weekends up with another race down there. And I think, we have a market for us down there in Central PA, and I like to pursue it.
Where else are you looking other than Selinsgrove to tie another race together?
Well, you like you got Friday night options. You got Big Diamond. You got Penn Can maybe. Sometimes Port Royal might even go on a Sunday or something different. You want to keep it fairly close because you don't want to go down to the Lincoln, Susquehanna area because that's kind of far. You're talking 5 hours to get down there, yeah. Where Selinsgrove is about 3.5, and that's a big deal. So maybe something like a Penn Can or a Big Diamond on the way to Selinsgrove could be a good a good plan. Both tracks were contacted this year. There was interest. But not enough to seal a deal. But maybe now, after what we did at Selinsgrove, we could.
Is there any allure of going someplace like Penn Can?
There's allure of going to every track. Actually, the thing is that the guys like to travel. That's why we've been pulling mid-30s. There's 30 to 35 teams that like to get to a different racetrack, and the beauty of it's all shapes, all sizes. Anywhere. I mean, all the tracks have a unique niche. Some are more modern than others. Some are wider than others. Some are bigger than others. Some have better surfaces than others. But you know what? That's what makes a true champion is the guy and or lady that can adapt to them all the best.
I would love to see you put that deal together for Penn Can.
I would too. I think Penn Can's a good sprint car track. It always has been. URC when they ran there was. Good shows. It just so happens that the weather was always iffy, and they never really got a good crowd. And our purse is a little bit more affordable, so maybe we can get something put together for next year.
Promoters are good people there too. I mean, Brett Deano works with them on the modified side of things.
Yeah.
And, you could
Corey
speak to
said
those.
He would help us out if we could get a deal there. Deano actually told us he would help PR the race for free too as well. So
you can't go wrong.
And then maybe we can work out something out for next year.
Geez, there's a whole other angle on the youth movement thing that we were talking about a little earlier, Dean. You've got a good group of young guys that are racing with you now to kind of mix in with the Poyers and the Lance Youngs and the other more established elder statesmen, if you will, of the Empire Super Sprints. Plus, on the promotion side, you've got a guy like Brett Deano. We were talking about the youth on both sides of the fence. It's more than just the youth movement amongst the drivers that makes me so encouraged, enthusiastic about this sport and what it's going to look like in the years to come. But also a guy like Brett Deano and the promotion that he's doing within our sport. And now more recently he's hooked up with Stuart Friesen to do some promotion as well. Do you feel the same way that we do about that there's a pretty good youth movement going on right now on both sides of the fence, both on the promotional side and on the racers' standpoint?
I think now that racing, I don't know if you want to call it a struggle. I don't know if it was really a struggle or if we rested on our laurels because racing heyday was in its 80s and 90s and a little bit going into the early 2000s.
Well,
I think it caught everyone by surprise. I think people didn't think it was going to turn the tide that fast. It's not that we have a bad product out there. It's that kids grow up differently now. You got the X Games. You got monster truck shows. You got you know, you look at this AMA Supercross. I am amazed that there's 50,000 people at these Supercross events that last literally just 2 hours.
Right.
But now the promoters are starting to see that, and young people like Brett are getting into it because they're incorporating these ideas into local short track racing. And I think you're going to see that this is going to start helping out. I mean, our Saturday night programs are still great racing. You know, they're awesome racing. But you got to get it marketed. You got to market it differently now. It's just that younger generations want to do different things. They want to stay home and play Xbox games, too.
Right.
And we didn't have that when we grew up. When we grew up, we wanted to go to our Saturday night racetrack. That was our only thing to do. You know, that was it. But it's different now. And, you know, with Brett, with fresh ideas, and then now him joining forces with Stewart, and Stewart knows the deal. You know, I think that's what you're going to see probably in the next 10 years, I hope. You know, because I like to see it stay strong.
I don't know. I kind of challenge that a little bit because, I mean, I don't know if it's fair to throw the young or the youth movement title on somebody like, I mean, Brett and Mike came up. I mean, Brett and Mike, and I mean, I don't know if I should even lump myself into them because I went a different direction midway through, but we all kind of came up through together. I mean, Brett's been doing this for 12, 13 years now. I
mean, I'm mid-40s, and I've been doing it for since I was 18.
Well, lest anyone think that I put you... Well, hang on. Let me interrupt you real quick. Lest anyone think that I put you in a youth movement category.
But, you know, but there is younger people out there.
Yeah.
You got Nate down there at Woodhull. He's doing a great job helping out with the website and Facebook and everything else, and he's a teenager. And you know, there is people out there.
Joe Tranka. Mm-hmm. He's a guy who races with you often. Really well-spoken kid. He's...
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how old is Joe even?
Joe is now 16.
Holy cow, that is crazy.
But you know, you're exactly right. And Zach Weegen is back with us this year, and I don't even think he's hit 20 yet.
Right.
You know, so, which is good. I mean, you know, and I think you're going to see more of that, especially with, like, the Canada with 305s. I think you're going to see a lot of young kids get their feet wet with them for a year, but then after a year, you're going to want to see them move on. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to see it with that class as well. So I think there's always going to be an influx. Yes, the two guys that are new this year, Dave Axon and Vinny, have been around for many years. But, you know, we had an influx of young kids last year, and it goes in waves.
Yep.
I think you're going to see that be more of a consistent influx, especially with the 305 classes.
How excited are you about the 305 classes? Charlie Donk picks up 2 wins back-to-back, and now Darryl Ruggles returns to victory lane at Canandaigua aboard a 305.
You know, me and Mallet went out there a couple weeks ago, and I talked to Darryl, and he says, Dean, I found my niche. He goes, I've always wanted to do ESS. I can't quite do it. I mean, he goes, I could get a car, but I can only probably run it maybe 8 or 10 times a year. And, you know, he found a niche. Now, Alicia, you know, as good as she gets, maybe in 3-4 years, she's going to want to move on. You know, that's where this class is awesome, because the 305 class is an opportunity for someone that can't afford to race ESS and travel. Also, somebody at the tail end of the career to just have some fun, a change, and it's also for the young kids to get their feet wet and then move on. It's a great class.
Well, I mean, it seems like the sprint cars have been a way for a lot of drivers to re-energize their careers. Look at, you can grab a bunch of them. Chuck Hebing. Chuck Hebing's probably the biggest one. Steve Poirier, another prime example.
Yeah.
Lance
Paul
Young.
Kinney.
Sean Donath.
Paul Kinney. There's another one. Sean Donath. Jason Barney.
Yep.
All these guys have left the open wheel division and gone over to the sprint car. And Chuck's told me 100 times. He goes, the reason why the modified guys do so well is because you can drive it a different way and still be successful.
Yeah, and most of those modified guys. Now Chuck Hebing's got a very successful business, but so we'll take him out of the equation. But you mentioned the other guys. Paul Kinney, Sean Donath, Jason Barney. You look at their modified budgets. They had decent equipment, but they could never come over the hump to challenge the gypsum teams, the H&H teams, you know, the high dollar teams, you know, Brunel's team. Mm-hmm. They might pick off a win here and there, but they were always struggling. But that budget makes them a high dollar or good size sprint car budget, and that helps too as well. Jason Barney has 2 cars and 2 motors right now. He would never have that in the modifieds, never. And he's doing that on his own. Mm-hmm. And Lance Young, same thing, 2 cars, 2 motors. You know, Lance Young works for the town of Penn Yan. He was still running a big block. It'd be one big block and one car, and if that wrecks or blows the motor, he's done.
He's done.
You know, that's the other difference as well.
We were talking a little bit about the dark days of modified racing or dirt racing, whichever way you want to put it, because I mean it was kind of all lumped in together there for a while. And everybody was talking about this was the beginning of the end because all these guys that have been racing for the last 30 years are the only ones that are winning races. You don't see any new blood. At the same time, the people that were asking what's next, who's going to take over, I mean, those names were right in front of their eyes, and there's even more names now that are beginning to crop up. Billy Dunn's doing very well. Robbie Bellinger is doing well. Things along those lines. I mean, what was some of your thoughts as we were going through that mid-2000s and now that we've evolved up to the point that we're at now?
I just think we had to be patient. Because you look at the upper echelon now, yes, Brett's winning still, Danny's winning still, but they're not dominant now. And now it's Jimmy Phelps, it's Matt Shepard, it's Stuart Friesen. Those are the big three now. Those are the guys that are going to win the bulk of the races. I think
those are also
we grew up in an age that was unique because Alan, Danny, when Bob was healthy, Brett Hearn, I think these guys are even better than what we even knew how they were. It was just a rare breed of these guys. I think Tim McCready would have been in that category, maybe Timmy Fuller too, but they moved on. So, but now the transition has hit.
Not wrongly so to move on.
Stuart, it's Jimmy now. So,
but also I think those are the only three guys out of this generation, if you will, for lack of a better term. I guess we can call it a generation. This.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
I think it's only those three. If you can even say all three of them do it, I'm trying to think of the other drivers. I think those are the only three that have even remotely come close to being able to say that they race modifieds for a living, whereas so many of those drivers back in the mid-'90s were able to race for, as Jay put it earlier, race for their bread. I think there's only like three drivers of this current generation. I mean, the cutoff point being guys like Pat Ward, Alan Johnson, Danny Johnson, Brett Hearn, Billy Decker. Do you kind of agree with that? Is that something that...
Well, do you think... Here's the thing that you got to think of now. Back in that day and age, there was a lot of high-dollar owners around that were throwing rides out. I don't think we're that short of talent compared to before, but we're that short of equipment. I think that's what it is more than anything else. Because you used to have Bob Faust. You used to have the Finch Logging team. I mean, I'm forgetting a lot of... Adam Ross, the Adam Ross team. I mean, you used to have these mega-dollar teams that were around at that time. And now they're all gone. It's basically just Gibson, it's Henke, and it's Brunel. I mean, Stewart's basically piecing together three different rides to do what he does to show you how talented he is.
Right.
But other than that, Brett Hearn does have his own pocket. But Brett still has to watch his dollars and cents.
Sure.
And but really, there's only three super teams, and the bulk of the wins come from the three super teams plus Brett and Stewart. I don't think it's talent. I think it's just equipment. I don't think the equipment's there, because it's just so darn expensive.
Is the lack of equipment shrouding better talent that we haven't been able to see?
I think so, because, we get that in ESS. When you own your own car and you got to go three wide for that lead, sometimes you think twice. That's why you see very few accidents in ESS. We see very few guys get upside down, because if they do, it's got to come out of their own pocket. I think you might see that a little bit in the modifieds now because everyone owns their own cars. I mean, you talk about Robbie Bellinger. You put Robbie in a Gibson ride and watch him go.
Yep.
But you know what? He wrecks that car of his. Where does he go? It's not next weekend. He's fixing it.
Man, that's such a good point. I mean,
I think means a lot. I really do.
I think about like a Matt Halsizer.
Yeah.
There's a guy who's just like, super sharp, super talented, just kind of like a tick off with his equipment with his whole program right now. I'm sure I'm forgetting people, but he's one that always pops to mind whenever I think about that. Robbie Bellinger, Matt Halsizer's the world
Dan
that group.
Vaughter too. I don't know how old Dan is, but he's always been another one that struck me as a guy who would come up with a win now and then.
Yep.
But if he could string together
track champion at Penn Can in the past, back in the day.
A better
Kevin Bates. There's a guy.
Kevin Bates is another good one too. Yeah. And
I think one guy that's on the verge of going over the hump, but maybe the finances are holding him back just a little, is Billy Dunn.
Yeah.
I think he's right there. I mean, he does the series, but he does it again. He does that out of him and his father's own pocket.
Yeah, and he's got a ride with.
But they don't have a ton of equipment. You know,
he's got a ride for Mohawk in some 358 races with
Ladisor. Yeah.
Ladisor.
Yeah, but that modified, it's right out of his stable. He owns it. You know, and I think that plays a big role. Vinny Vitale too. I think that plays a big role.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think he wants to go sprint car racing, because he's got good modified equipment. But boy, if I tell you blow up 2 motors in 2 weeks, he's done.
Yeah.
It's. I think it's a lot of that. So it's a combination of everything.
We got a bunch of names coming in our live chat. Chris Rabby, Matt Williamson, who we talked to last week.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh geez, yeah.
Ryan Godown, Pete Britton, Mike Mahaney. Mike Mahaney's a great one. I mean, he's been on the show 100 times, and he's a great example. Who, of all these names we've been throwing around, it mostly stays in a modified centric world.
Mm-hmm.
Who, Dean, of all these names that we've talked about, and it could be someone from outside that too, would you like to see or would expect to be the most successful if you put him in a sprint car?
Wow.
Hey, you got to look at driving style too.
Right.
If you watch Chuck Hebing back in the modified days, it wasn't a heat race that Chuck Hebing lost because the track had a lot of bite. I remember watching him at Brewerton. Chuck Hebing would lead every modified feature for the first 10 or 12 laps because the track would dry out, and then it would just go against his style. There's a lot of guys. I mean, Robbie Bellinger is one of them. It's funny that we talk about him, but I tell you, put him in a sprint car. Billy Dunn has proven it. You put him in a sprint car, look how good he does. It's
Larry White.
I think
Yeah.
almost all these guys you put in a sprint car would be successful. Just watching Sean Donoff and Paul Kinney, they have a shot at an ESS championship. They still might be a year or two away. Do they have a shot at the Mr. Dirt crown or the Super Dirt Series crown or the ROC crown? No. Even though they might have the talent to do it, but they do not have a shot at doing that with their finances. That's what ESS brings to the table.
Is which way, if you could do it, we've talked about all this talent that's here, and we talked about the talent that endured from the mid-'80s all the way up till present day. If you could put the drivers in a time capsule and take one group to the other's era, which way would you want it to go?
That's a good question. I mean, you always, in the era I grew up, you always wanted to see what Alan and Danny could do, and maybe even Bob McCready, what they can do in a sprint car or what they can do in a late model or something like that. I think these guys are literally that good, and I think in their prime. Because I can remember when guys like Jimmy Horton and Brett Hearn would jump in a URC sprint car and win when URC came to Middletown.
Mm-hmm.
They would run a sprint car 2 or 3 times a year and yet go out and win. That shows you how good. And Jimmy and Brett were in that same era, too, as well. So you kind of wonder what would Bob, Danny, and Alan would do if they moved on. It would be interesting.
I mean, it'd be so much interesting to see what these guys that we're talking about, all these cookie-cutter cars, and it's easier to jump in between rides because all the ingenuity is sort of universal now. It'd be interesting to see what those guys would do against that talent in the type of cars that were available then. Plus, there's all those available high-dollar rides. But just the same, when you even the playing field and the equipment's all equal, you move everything ahead from that 80s and 90s era to now and put that matched up against it. Those guys could drive dump trucks then, so imagine what they could do with the cars now.
Yeah, it's just, that's what made the 80s and 90s, though, what it was, is that you still had the ingenuity. You still had guys building their own cars. You still had guys building their own motors. Kneisel, show car, Troyer was just getting into it, Olsen was getting into it, but yet you still saw Bob McCready build his own car, or you saw Bob build his own motor, or Charlie Rudolph would build his own car. Joe Plazik built his own car for Syracuse, and called it the long track racer. You still had that, though. And
Did
I
it
think
pass
that's
inspection? Because it wouldn't.
What's so nice is because you still had a chance to build something on your own and maybe get an edge. Now you can't because the Teal cars and the Troyers and they're and the Bicknells. These guys have done so much R&D and research and put so much time and effort and money into it. It's really impossible to build one. I know Larry White with Dale Plank is trying. They got one built and trying that at Fulton, but the success ain't there yet, and it's so hard to do it. So hard to go up against these guys. That build these cars 24/7 now.
Yeah, financially, does it make a lot of sense to try and reinvent something that T.O. and Bicknell and Troyer have pretty much they've mastered. They've got a good product. Why put all the research and development in when you can rip off and copy? And
well, John White can do that, and that's why I think they're doing it.
They're doing it because they can.
Yeah, and in ESS, believe it or not, we have that going on with Jason Barney.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Barney working with Ryan Linder out in Arizona, that X1 chassis, there's only like 4 or 5 wing cars out there, but they're doing the same thing with ESS. Now, granted, in sprint cars, it's a little bit more affordable to do that, so it's a little bit easier to do it. But in the modified, it's hard. But, John White has the resources, and, with Dale Plank working for them and Sean Donath and everything else, if they stumble onto something, you never know. They might get into the chassis building business.
Right.
I have no idea what it could spawn, but he does have the resources. Probably the only one that does.
That's probably true. I mean, there's no question about that. He definitely has the bank to make a difference.
Speaking of resources, you got a big weekend coming up, Dean. You're going to pay somebody some money to win some races this weekend on the Empire Super Sprints Tour, right?
It's funny. We talk about Memorial Day weekend, and we think of the Indy 500, the World 600 in Monaco. Nah, it's ESS at Fonda in Utica, Rome. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's this weekend we've been doing for 5 or 6 years now, if not maybe a little bit more, and it's really our official kickoff to our tour. It's our first big weekend, first 2-race weekend. This is where we're going to get down and dirty because now we're going to get busy. And Fonda with the Earl Holocaust Memorial in Utica, Rome. We're gonna start getting some races under our belts, getting some points. Like Chuck Hebing sitting 10th in points, but now this is where everyone's going to start making the moves. And this weekend always really kind of kicks off the tour.
Tell me a little bit more about that Holocaust Memorial race. I mean, that's a race that's been around for a real long time. It's been at Fonda. I don't remember where it started, but it was at Black Rock for a while as well. It started at Black Rock,
yep.
And then it ended up moving to Fonda.
Yeah,
and that has always been the real launcher for the tour.
Earl Holocaust is a sprint car Hall of Famer. He's deceased, unfortunately, but he's from the Sydney, New York area. He grew up in Sydney, but he was a 2-time URC champion, and he's still in the top 10 in URC in the all-time wins list, which is saying something because URC's been around for 65 years now. And Tom Schmay from the Sprint Car Hall of Fame is really the guy behind the Earl Holocaust and the memorial idea. Tom helped organize the Bully Hill Nationals, Chris, as you know.
Right.
He's the one that got it started with us in URC. And he's a sprint fan, and Earl Holocaust has got a great legacy here in New York. And it was at Black Rock for a couple of years, where it started. This is the 10th year we're running it, 9th anniversary. We kind of adopted it after, I think, 2006 and moved it over to Fonda because that's actually the closest track to Sydney, New York, really. So the first couple of years we had family members come on out to the event and everything. It's kind of lost a little of its luster. I don't know if the family members still come or not, but we do enjoy keeping the name out there. Tom enjoys it as well. And we get a little bit of a private funding to make it $2,000 to win, to make it a little bit special, and what better place to hold it than Fonda? I mean, it's probably the oldest running track that we go to. So,
Track of Champions.
Yes. It is.
How much are you looking forward to going back to Utica Rome? How much is Chuck Hebing looking forward to going back to Utica Rome?
Well, it's funny now with the Coal Cup at the end of the year. We got 2 teams coming up from Pennsylvania.
Oh, really?
Utica Rome. Yeah, Dave Ely and Robbie Spielwagen are coming up.
Oh, wicked.
They're going to spend the weekend with us. They're going to run both nights, but the main reason is to get some laps at Utica Rome. It's funny, when you talk Hebing, Poirier, and Donath, they all have success at Utica Rome, so they all salivate. You talk about that place. So all 3 of them look forward to it.
How the last 3 or 4 races that you've had over there, they've ended on a last lap pass off turn 4.
And it's usually been a slide job, and people are on their feet. Matter of fact, our last race there in September, Sean Donath passed Chuck Hebing last corner, last lap, and did a slide job. So it's, the place just is a great sprint car track. And I tell you, the last, I don't know how many years, you can't even really date it because the sprint car races have always been good there. And it's a perfect 360 track. I don't know about the 410s. When the track kind of gets slick, it kind of takes the 410s out of their element a little bit, maybe. I don't know. It seems to be perfect more for a 360 because you can stay on the gas a little bit longer. That's why we're looking forward to that Coal Cup at the end of the year, and hopefully we can start something special. But, that's Utica Rome. 3-4 wide racing, Jay. You know that.
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely.
One of the things that Dean and I talked about a couple weeks back is at some point we want to try and get a round table. We want to get some of the guys that were at Amy's Checkered Flag, and we want to get Ray back in here from a couple weeks ago and talk about what it was like back in the day, and just kind of throw a question out here and there and just let them talk. And I think that's still something that we want to try and make happen at some point. And I don't know how we're going to squeeze it all in. We got a very busy summer ahead of us.
No, I've been thinking about what Thursday I can come out, and we'll talk about that, Chris, and see what we can do. And I think we get 3 or 4 of those guests in the studio, and like you said, we just sit back and let them talk.
You're gonna run the Legends shuttle.
Well, you always got to have a young guy behind the wheel of the Legends shuttle.
There you go. I'll try and meet you out there someplace so I can drive.
There you go. But we'll have Jay take pictures.
I will. I'll shoot that baby right up for you, brother.
Jay, you coming out some of the shows this weekend? What's your schedule?
I'll see you at Utica Rome, I believe.
Okay, cool, good deal.
Because that's the Sunday part, right?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, Sunday I'll be there. Saturday I'll be at Skyline. Monday I'll be back at Utica Rome Speedway as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping the weather right now looks favorable. It's going to be a little chilly at night, but we're looking good.
Chilly we can do. Rainstorm we can't.
Right. That pretty well sums it up.
Yeah.
There's no jet dryers for a dirt track.
Man.
Hey, Chris, I don't know if you want to just change surfaces a little bit, but we did have that asphalt test session up at Evans Mills last Saturday.
How'd that go?
That went very well. The track record was 14-1. Doug Emery did a 12-6.
Whoa.
And he had more.
Oh, man.
Now, the way that's set up is you're not allowed to bring any asphalt stuff. You've got to run your dirt setup, right? Dirt tires, dirt.
Basically, it's stiff shocks, stiff bars, an optional right front brake if you want, and any tire. And that is it. There's the list.
Wow.
Any tire. So you can run an asphalt tire.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Doug had asphalt tires on. Well, the super modified tires bolt right onto a sprint car on the back. And then you go out
There's
and buy
some good news.
9-inch asphalt tires that the Midwest sprints and the TBRA sprints down in Florida run are 9-inch asphalt tires. You can just buy a couple of those, and you're set. You're ready to go. It's simple as that. 45 minutes it takes Doug to change over his car. That's it.
You know, where my mistake there was, I believe it was Oswego Speedway, where you had to run the dirt sportsman, but it had to be dirt setup.
Right.
That's where I got that confused.
Yep.
Well, they run modifieds now weekly at Evans Mills, and they got to run the dirt tires there, same as Airborne Park.
They do. Okay.
Yeah, but our dirt tires are a little bit softer. They would go like heck for about 10 laps. Then you're going to be hanging on for 5 laps. Then you're going to be running on the rim for the last 10 laps. I got a feeling some guys are still going to try to buy special hard Hoosiers dirt tires and give it a shot. It'll be interesting, because 25 laps. I mean, if you run 12-second laps, 25 laps is going to be done in 3 minutes?
Oh boy,
Not going to take long.
No.
What's the date on that show, Dean?
That's June 8th. We're at Mohawk on June 7th, so it's perfect for us as far as the date after, because the Quebec guys and the Ontario guys only got to go down the road a little bit to the track. Everyone else basically has got to drive by Evans Mills to come back home.
Yep.
So that's why we picked that date. We're not going to set the world on fire with 30 cars. We like to get 20 because we're setting up a 20-car A main, $500 to start, $2,500 to win. If we get 16, it'll still be a good show, but I think we're going to be closer to 20. There is a lot of interest, and I think something like this can be done once a year. We're not looking to do a new avenue or anything like that because asphalt can be expensive. But if you do it once a year and guys don't build any special equipment and just go out there and have some fun and drive with their heads, because asphalt's a lot quicker. But it could be a good event. It could be just something different to do 1 year, and once a year, maybe it entices new marketing partners. You never know.
Was anybody out there trying to race during the hot laps, or were they just really in a feeling it out period?
We only actually had one car there. It was just Doug. We did 3 hot lap sessions. We did 2 during the warm-ups that basically Doug did to get the car felt out, and then right before intermission, we actually set up a 20-lap deal so he can get heat in the tires and really let it rip. And the last 12 laps, he was under the 13-second bracket, I think 10 of the 12 laps.
Wow.
And he still had more. He was coming off the corners on a controlled slide, but the car was very stable. Jeff Cook was there as well watching, and Jeff was really impressed. And as a matter of fact, Jeff, I think, will have 2 cars there because one of their regulars approached Jeff and says, if I buy the tires, you give me a ride? And Jeff said, absolutely. And it's just because of that highlight session.
That's a cool element to add.
Yeah.
You know, local, kind of tied in with the whole deal.
Yeah, and it's good for Evans Mills because I tell you, they got a good little niche going up there on Saturday night. They're getting decent crowds. You know, they only get about 10 mods right now, but you know, it's still growing. You know, Ravi's been running there, and Jordan McCready's there, and you know, they're getting some cars, and you know, they hope with our race they bring in some new fans, and you know, it's like bringing Tony Stewart into Canandaigua. Why do you do it? To bring in new fans.
Yep.
You know, if Evans Mills wanted to book an asphalt tour race or an ISMA race or an ACT, you're looking at double the purse that what we have. And with our local connections with Jeff Cook, Kevin Ward, and Dylan Zwiernik, you're probably going to get a bigger crowd with us anyways.
Yeah.
Hard to argue.
Yep, absolutely right.
You know, so at least we hope.
True.
Sounds like a healthy deal you got going on, Dean. Going to be a great 2013 for the ASS.
I hope so. We're off to a very good start. 38 cars at Can-Am, 36 at Selinsgrove. You know, the first 2 races couldn't have gone any better except for our red flag on lap 1 at Can-Am, but, you know, that happens. And, you know, I hope we have a successful year and a safe year. I mean, it's, you know, that's the main thing. We want to keep everyone healthy, but we want to keep everyone on the road, and hopefully we can keep the guys going because we got a busy year. We got that Speed Week coming up, and, you know, we're going to a lot of new tracks this year, and hopefully it'll work out.
When are you going to get in studio again? Here with us? In-house?
I think, you know, the schedule frees up for me mid-June to end of June. So, you know, the graduation weekend, we never have an ESS show, so that might be a good weekend to maybe see if we can schedule that round table. That's what I was thinking. That would be like the June 20th or 19th.
Okay.
That?
I'll even give him a ride. We live pretty close to each other now.
Sounds good to me.
I think that's what I was going to kind of hope to shoot for because we don't have any races that weekend, so I don't have to stay home and prepare for ESS shows. And, you know, I think that'd be a good time if you want to pursue that. I think let's start right now.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'll get with you. I'll go with you here, and we'll start putting something together.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think?
I think Dean was awesome having him on the show. I love how pumped up he is about the Empire Super Sprints, man. I'm a big fan of high energy anyway, so anytime I get to talk to Dean or hang around with Dean, it's always an awesome
Funny though,
awesome
I'm
time.
bleeding black and gold tonight because the Bruins are going against the Rangers, so I can't bleed blue tonight.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
Bruins are up 2-1, by the way, so we're
excellent.
Doing all right.
Here's another thing where you can set Dean off too. How about them crunch?
You know, I tell you, I'm psyched, but I'm also a little upset because Providence won the series. So the Crunch's next 2 home games for the conference finals are Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, man.
So my first opportunity to see the Crunch, believe it or not, I just bought tickets today. I'm going to Wilkes-Barre Scranton on Wednesday.
Wow.
Yeah, so then the next game at Wilkes-Barre Scranton's on Friday, so I can't do that because we got to go up to Quebec. But then the third game, because they're doing a 2-3-2, will be Monday down to Wilkes-Barre Scranton. So if it goes down to Game 5, I'm going back down on Monday, back from Quebec. So, but I tell you, Jay, that it's got the city excited. I mean, it's not like FU's run for the championship in 03, I think it was.
Right.
But the city is behind this hockey club. I mean, the old barn is almost sold out every playoff game, and that's tough to do because us season ticket holders, sponsors, everybody has to buy a ticket.
Yep.
Playoffs. And the barn has been full, so it's been fun.
I'm starting to get a little bit anxious. It's 8:30. The Blackhawks game has started in Detroit. It's Game 4, and they are down in the series to the Red Wings 2-1, and they're still in Detroit. They need to get themselves straightened out and get back to Chicago.
I could click over to the game real quick if you want to get a score date.
Well, actually, I got my phone. Anytime there's a goal scored in that, it tells me. And so far, I haven't heard anything. So I think everything's safe so far, and they got to be just about out of the first period now.
But you got to be going nuts because Detroit basically lucked their way into the playoffs on the last day.
Uh-huh.
And here they are playing the Blackhawks, and they're up when the Blackhawks basically lost, 3 games all year?
Yeah, pretty much.
Playoff hockey.
It pretty much sums it up. Yep.
It is. I mean, it's the only sport where I think the 8th seed has just as much chance as the 1st seed.
Yeah, well, I mean, half the league gets into the playoffs.
Yeah, well, yeah. But when it gets in the playoffs, though, the style changes. It's not
Big time.
It never is the most talented team that wins the Cup. Very rarely. I mean, back in the Gretzky days of the Oilers, yes, and maybe the Islanders also. But now, it's the team that plays the hardest, I think. I don't think the Bruins have the best team out there, but I think they play the hardest, and that's why they're successful.
Yeah, I loved the Bruins series, their opening series, and to have them now playing the Rangers is great, provided they stay on the winning side of it. The last two games of their opening series with Toronto were awesome games. I mean, for them to rally, I think it was in Game 6 when they were down, and then they rallied in the last, 3 minutes. Forced over. I mean, it was awesome.
It was actually the greatest 10 minutes of hockey I ever saw. They scored all those goals in the last 10 minutes. And I tell you what, they're playing now like, hey, we got our extra life. We're lucky to still be here. And then I think that's how they're playing against the Rangers. They're like on a mission now. They're like, we got lucky. Let's take advantage of it. That seems like the way they're playing.
That sounds like your cell phone powered by AT&T.
That was an email that just came in on my cell phone powered by AT&T that's sitting on my chest. Which, by the way, I was doing Facebook updates and everything else while I was talking to you guys. So, it's all about social media, right, Jay?
Absolutely. It's been the lifeblood of the Hall of Fame, man. And I know that you guys at the Empire Super Sprints definitely are big friends of the Twitter and the Facebook and all that stuff.
Oh, I mean, it's great. Even with the countdown that you do with the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's awesome,
It's really it's interactive. The fans have got to be invested, and just like when I go to an Empire Super Sprint show, the fans are really bought in, and that's what we want. We want to create that atmosphere again, because I think that's where maybe we're a little tick off in the sport as a whole. I think the fans aren't as bought in as they once were to a favorite driver or something of that nature. And with this countdown, we've been able to kind of bring to the front that same feel, you know what I mean? Everybody kind of champions their favorite driver. Obviously, today being day 12 in the countdown, Jack Johnson was definitely a fan favorite. So people were definitely pumped up to have Jack Johnson on there, and the result showed.
I think you're going to see a lot of the old Cliff Barkham cars with C.D. Colville and Mike McLaughlin and guys like that behind them, and Steve Kinzer is going to be on there. I'm sure. Doug Carlisle. I mean, there's so many greats that you can think of with these numbers.
Give it 3 days. There's only going to be one driver being talked about.
Oh, yeah. Yep. It's true. It's very true. Yeah, Barefoot. He's another big...
Oh, yeah, God.
At every point in this thing, we've been doing it since day 69. Don't ask me why I picked that number, but...
just because you're a Johnny Carklin fan, that's why.
But we've been doing it for, an awfully long time now, and everywhere along the countdown, somebody's been able to bring to the whole deal something just a little bit different all the way. A sprint car or a modified or super modifieds. I mean, we've had every type of car you could imagine, even midgets. I wish Bomas was here. He'd be very happy to hear that, and he's brought some of that to the table too. But
it took an hour and 21 minutes before a midget got brought.
Sorry about that. I was going to try to let it slide.
It's funny. I wish Bomas was on the show because out of all of us, who's leading? Who's up ahead in the Dick Dragon thing now?
It's
Heath right now.
Oh, is he?
Me.
That's what I thought. I thought that's what you said when we were texting back and forth.
No kidding.
No, it was. It's funny because I went heavy with the Quebec guys, and now that Quebec's up and running, all of a sudden I started climbing up the beginning.
Give it time. The fix will be in, and John will be back on top in no time.
Very cool.
On day 22, I was watching all the Dave Late mentions and everything, and I missed myself. Because that was the number I ran when I ran my sprint car for the one night.
Oh, get out of here. That's right. Zemsik's ride, right?
Yes, it was. I totally forgot about it. Jesus. I had a chance to be on the Hall of Fame site, and I blew it. I'm done.
There's always next year. That's a beautiful part about the Hall of Fame. We're going to be around for another 100 friggin' years. So at that point in time, you'll be able to teleport yourself directly onto the website and do like a little live animation of what happened back in the day.
And then we'll be inducting one or two more drivers with the ESS as well. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, that was another thing. That came up on the show one of the times I was on here about how that deal between the Dirt Motorsports Hall of Fame and the all new Empire Super Sprints Hall of Fame came together. And I think these guys imagined, Dean, that you and I spent hours and hours laboring over this, but it really wasn't like that at all, was it?
It was one text message. And then it was me, you, and Mallet hanging out a little establishment around the corner here, Mugshots, and then we just sealed the deal.
That's how stuff should work, man. That's what I love about this whole thing.
I'm honored. And then to get Jack Spino involved and on board, and Jack seemed to be really thrilled. I mean, it's something special for us. like I said, I'm still a fan. Like Selinsgrove, I was sitting in Selinsgrove watching our guys go around the track, and it was like a father watching his kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird, but
No, it's
it
not
was that
weird.
feeling.
It's not weird. I think everybody knows exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it's the same feeling. We have a wall at a Hall of Fame. Who would ever thought that? This little club is still run out of a one-bedroom apartment in North Syracuse, and we have a Hall of Fame wall.
You sure do, and it's beautiful, man. It's such a great addition and adds so much value to what we do as an organization too. It's exciting, man, that it came together the way that it did, and it's been as well received too. It's we're a Hall of Fame that's always looking to evolve and find new ways to get the word out about racing as a whole. And finally, we're able to kind of strut ourselves and say, hey, look, we are all inclusive. We've got a super modified here, and if you walk 5 feet, more, you're going to run into the entire Empire Super Sprints Hall of Fame and 3 really amazing inductees you guys put in last year.
How was Frank Cozze? I didn't get a chance to listen to it because I was watching hockey.
Neither did we.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties with Mr. Cozze, and he's such a great guy, and he was saying some amazing things that nobody on this planet got to hear because of a severe thunderstorm in his
remember
area.
when we had Jessica Power on and the phone kept cutting out of nowhere and no one could explain it?
Yes.
Yeah. Welcome to Frank Cozze.
Yeah.
We'll do it again. We'll get him.
Yeah. Now Frank's a great guy and well deserved. I mean, it's. I kind of wish he was still running a darn sprint car like he was the last couple of years, but
he's still
that's
got
okay.
it.
He won Friday Big Diamond, so that was good.
It's race ready. The sprint car's ready to go, and it's in a trailer. And I asked him, "Where's it ready to go to?" And he answered the question, but I couldn't understand a word he said.
Oh crap!
Thunderstorms.
I'm actually really surprised he didn't unload it to run the Outlaws of Middletown.
Well, that was one of the questions that one of the live chat viewers asked, and we asked him that question, and we couldn't get. And we got like every third syllable. It was so broken, and eventually he said himself, "I can only catch a little bit of what you're saying." So we mutually decided to bag it, and we're going to try again.
Great radio. Yeah. Yep.
It happens. It's part of it.
It was compelling. The viewers were hanging on every word because they were waiting for one.
Yep. They were just hoping for the next one to come.
Well, unlike Bombas, I won't drop the F-bomb, so you'll be all set there.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not immune from that. I've done it.
Well, never mind.
Awesome stuff.
Well, I look forward to catching up with you here in studio at some point.
Yeah, no, let's plan on that Thursday there, Chris.
Yeah, we'll trade some text messages here, and we'll get it put together.
Well, we'll get a nice little panel. I think 4 or 5 people to come on in. I think I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that'd be good
for everybody just to sit back and listen. Even like Jay and young people that haven't been around or don't really remember the 70s or 80s that well. There's so many stories. I mean, the stories back then are a lot better to talk about than the stories now. We say we have good stories now, but man, back then, holy cow!
Yeah,
legend.
Yeah, and that's what I think I really want to hear. I mean, that's it's just when they barnstormed all over the north. They didn't have Route 90 and Route 81, and when Fonda would get rained out, guys like Lou Zaro and all them would go to Waterloo, and it'll take them 6 hours to get there.
But they would go.
We can't even comprehend doing that, and we have $300,000 stacker haulers, and we don't even do that now.
Right.
They would do in the pickup truck that has no AC in a trailer. I mean, that's the days.
You got to race.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
We'll look forward to it.
All right, guys, I pushed you way over the limit.
It's cool, man. Go watch your hockey game. I'm starting to get real anxious because I haven't seen anything on my phone. I don't know what's going on in Detroit.
Thanks a million, Dean.
No, thanks again, guys. I appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see everybody at Fonda and Utica Rome this weekend.
We'll see you there.
Take care, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Dean.
You'll be able to find the whole schedule at EmpireSuperSprints.com. Dean Reynolds and the exploits of the stars and cars of the Empire Super Sprints. This weekend's going to be amazing. Fonda, Utica, Rome. It's going to be awesome shows both nights.
Should be a good one. The Utica Rome race, if you can make it, go. You have to go see the Empire Super Sprints at Utica Rome. It's awesome.
So
fast, and they always end with something that makes you stand up. It never fails. Oh, man, I can't believe it. We've burned through an hour and a half. I think that's going to do it for this edition of the 31st Lap. We appreciate it. For our guest, Frank Cozze, Dean Reynolds, and, of course, Jay Fish coming in studio with us. Thanks a lot, and we're going to see you right back here again next week on the 31st Lap.
www.fingerlakes1.com.